Tokyo, early 1942. A narrow school gym is filled with families sitting on the floor, shoes lined up by the doors. Mothers hold small children in their laps. Old grandparents sit on folding stools. At the front, a Navy officer reads from a list of names. Each name belongs to a pilot or crewman who did not come back from the latest victories in the South. When a name is called, a woman stands, bows, and accepts a framed photograph and a neatly folded flag. The officer speaks of glory, sacrifice, and the expanding empire. He tells the families that their sons and husbands struck a mighty blow against arrogant Western powers. The crowd murmurs approval. Some women cry quietly. Others press their lips together and stare straight ahead, as if by force of will they can make the words true. Near the back of the gym, Lieutenant Commander Masato Kondo watches with a stiff, formal expression. He is there as a representative of the Navy Ministry. He bows at the right moments. He knows the script by heart. He also knows something the families do not. On the reports he sees, these men are not listed as heroes. They are lines and columns under headings like combat loss, operational loss, training accident. The reports do not mention their names, only numbers. After the ceremony, as people file out, a woman in a worn coat approaches him. She clutches the framed photo of a young pilot with a shy smile. "My son flew from a carrier," she says. "They told me he died striking the enemy." "Was it quick?" Masato opens his mouth, then closes it again. The file he read said that the aircraft failed on takeoff and went into the sea. The pilot was trapped in the cockpit. The carrier did not stop. It could not stop. Not in wartime. That is what the report said. He cannot tell her that. "Your son served bravely," he says instead. "His sacrifice protects the empire." It is the correct phrase. She bows, clutching the frame, and disappears into the crowd. Later that night, the lights of the Navy Ministry burn against the blackout sky. Inside, on the upper floors, maps of the Pacific cover the walls. Red and blue pins mark island chains, shipping lanes, and carrier tracks. To most of the officers who walk these halls, this map is a scoreboard. Hong Kong, Malaya, Singapore, the Philippines, the Dutch East Indies. Each pin is a victory that proves what they already believed about Japan's destiny. In a small office at the end of a quiet corridor, Masato sits hunched over a desk, still wearing the same uniform he wore at the ceremony. His tie is loosened. His eyes are tired, but his hands move steadily across stacks of paper. His world is numbers, not speeches. He lays 3 sheets side by side. The first shows carrier air group losses since Pearl Harbor, Pearl Harbor itself, the Indian Ocean raids, the battles in the Philippines, and the Indies. Each operation is marked as a success, but the columns of lost aircraft and missing aircrew grow longer. Masato takes a ruler and draws a line through the totals month by month. The line moves up, and not slowly. The second sheet lists training output. New pilots graduated, hours flown, instructor availability. On the surface, the numbers look solid. New classes are being rushed through the pipeline. On another line, he sees the cost. Training hours per pilot have been cut. Advanced gunnery and night operations are compressed. There is no time. The demand at the front does not wait for full training cycles. The third sheet is the one that bothers him the most. It is a summary from the Aviation Bureau on engine overhauls and spare parts. The language is dry. Delays in delivery of replacement engines. Increased failure rates due to extended operation without scheduled maintenance. cannibalization of grounded aircraft to keep others flying, mechanics working beyond safe limits. Masato takes a blank page and starts to build a simple picture. On the left, he lists the number of trained carrier pilots now. Next to that, the current monthly attrition, combining combat losses and non-combat losses. The percentage is higher than he likes to see. Then he writes the monthly number of new carrier-qualified pilots. It does not quite cover the losses if the war intensifies. He adds another line, estimated American aircraft production based on intelligence. He has seen those numbers before, but they still make him pause. American factories are not at full output yet. But when they are, the volume will be unlike anything Japan can match. He writes a simple statement under the figures. If current trends continue, and if the enemy maintains or increases production, our qualitative edge in carrier aviation will be erased within a limited time. He stops and stares at that sentence. It is not dramatic. It is not emotional. It is worse. It is plain. A knock at the door breaks his focus. A younger officer steps in, his cap tucked under his arm, cheeks flushed from the cold night air. "You are still here, Kondo." The officer smiles. "The war will be over before you finish adding up your columns." Masato answers, "I would be glad if that were true." The younger man shakes his head. "Look at what we have done. Singapore fell in weeks. The British ran. The Americans lost their battleships at Pearl Harbor. We have taken everything we have aimed at. One more decisive blow, and they will have no choice but to negotiate." He says it with the ease of someone who has never seen a production report or a fuel log. For him, war is the clean line of advance on the map, the arrows that move ever outward. "Do you know how many carrier pilots we lost in the last 6 months?" Masato asks. The officer waves a hand. "Losses are the price of victory. They knew what they were signing up for. We will train more. And besides, we have something the Americans never will. Spirit. They do not fight like we do. Spirit does not build engines," Masato thinks. "It does not refine fuel or train a pilot faster than a certain number of hours in the air." Aloud he says, "I hope the enemy agrees with you about their weakness." The younger man laughs and leaves, muttering something about pessimists. The next morning, Masato is summoned to a briefing 2 floors up. The room is larger, the air heavy with tobacco smoke and the murmur of important voices. Along the walls, new arrows have been drawn on the map. Someone has circled a tiny speck northwest of Hawaii, Midway. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto stands at the head of the table. He is calm, self-controlled, his gaze sharp but not theatrical. Men fall silent when he speaks. "Our early successes have bought us space," he says. "But they have not changed the basic facts. We cannot win a long war against a nation with far greater industrial strength. If we allow them time, they will rebuild and surpass us. Therefore, we must force a decisive engagement while the balance still favors us." He taps the map near Midway with a pointer. "Here, we will threaten Hawaii and draw out their remaining carriers. We will crush them in a single stroke." Around the table, heads nod. Some officers look excited, like men reading the final chapter of a story they already know the ending to. Only a few faces show hesitation, and those men do not speak first. One rear admiral, a veteran of battleship command, says, "Admiral, with respect, we have already shown the enemy at Pearl Harbor what we can do. Their carriers nibble at the edges. Once we bring them into our guns and aircraft, they will be swept aside. Their people will not endure heavy losses. another flag officer adds. The nation expects bold action. Our victories have raised morale. A defensive posture now would send the wrong signal. Masato watches Yamamoto carefully. The admiral knows the crowd. He knows what they want to hear, but he also knows what the numbers say. Masato has seen similar data on Yamamoto's desk in the past. Losses, replacement rates, fuel stocks, American shipbuilding estimates. Yamamoto lets the optimism settle, then says quietly, "Do not mistake the enemy's current weakness for permanent inferiority. They are learning from each defeat. They adapt quickly. Underestimate them, and we will pay." The room grows still. No one contradicts him openly, yet the momentum of months of victory is a kind of gravity. It pulls thinking in one direction, toward confidence, toward risk. After the briefing, in a small side room, Captain Hayashi from the planning section hands Masato a folded note. "I need you to prepare a full assessment," Hayashi says. "Sustainability of carrier operations for the next year. Pilot training throughput, aircraft production, engine overhauls, fuel for major sorties, and one more thing." He looks Masato directly in the eye. "Include a comparison with projected American capabilities. Use conservative estimates. No wishful thinking. I want to know how long we truly have before the scales tilt against us." Masato understands what this means. Someone above Hayashi, almost certainly Yamamoto himself, wants a clear look at the clock ticking over their heads. "You realize," Masato says, "that such a report will not be popular." Hayashi's mouth twists in a tired half-smile. Truth rarely is. Write it precisely. No alarms, no slogans, just facts. If they choose to ignore it, that is on them. But I want it in the record. Days pass in a blur of interviews and calculations. Masato questions logistics officers about fuel convoys to forward bases. He talks to a maintenance commander recently back from sea, who describes engines pushed past safe limits, mechanics sleeping on the hangar deck, planes kept flying with parts scavenged from grounded wrecks. He visits the training command and learns how many hours have been cut from advanced courses to get more pilots to the front faster. Every piece reinforces the same conclusion. The Empire is burning its best fuel, machines, and men at a rate it cannot sustain. Every victory that looks effortless in the newspapers leaves scars deeper in the numbers. Late one night, alone in his office, Masato writes the conclusion section of the report. The language is formal and restrained, but each sentence lands like a weight. Current operational tempo for carrier aviation cannot be maintained beyond a limited period without serious degradation of combat effectiveness. Projected training outputs, even under accelerated programs, will not fully replace experienced pilots if combat losses increase as expected in major fleet actions. Industrial and resource constraints limit our ability to expand aircraft and engine production beyond current planned levels in the near term. By contrast, available intelligence strongly suggests that the United States, if given time to mobilize fully, will surpass our production capacity in carriers, aircraft, and trained aircrew. Then he writes the line that no one wants to see. In practical terms, this means that one major naval disaster involving our carrier striking force could irreversibly cripple our offensive power in the Pacific, with no realistic prospect of restoring it in time to regain the initiative. He sits back and reads the page. The sentence is not flowery. It is not designed to shock. But if anyone truly understands it, it should. The next morning, he delivers the report to Hayashi. The captain reads the key paragraphs in silence. His jaw tightens at the last line, but he does not cross it out. "I will pass this up the chain," Hayashi says. "You will not hear anything officially. And if anyone asks, this is a routine internal projection." Masato knows what that means. The report will either be used quietly by those who understand or buried by those who do not want to. On his way back to his office, he passes an open window. Outside, beyond the ministry walls, Tokyo is waking up. Street vendors set up their stalls. Children in school uniforms walk past posters showing smiling pilots and bold slogans promising certain victory. On the radio in a guard room, an announcer proudly lists the latest conquests, calling the Empire's advance unstoppable. Masato looks down at his ink-stained fingers and thinks of the woman in the gym holding her son's photograph. He has just written, in careful, polite language, that one bad day at sea could make many more of those ceremonies necessary, not over years, but all at once. He has also written that if that day comes, Japan will not have the means to recover. Behind him, in a secure office, Admiral Yamamoto opens the report and reads the same lines. He does not flinch. He already knew the direction of the truth. Now he has it in black and white. His gaze moves from the paper to the map on the wall. His finger rests again on the small dot marked Midway. On that dot, he intends to force the decisive battle he has always believed in. He understands the risk. He also sees no other path that leads anywhere but slow defeat. In the gym across town, the framed photographs of lost airmen are already hanging on walls over low tables. In the months ahead, more will be added. Some of those faces belong to the last generation of elite carrier pilots Japan can afford to lose. None of the people who look up at those photographs will ever read the report that warned what their deaths would mean. Tokyo, weeks after Masato's report, disappears into secure files. The combined fleet planning room is sealed tight. A guard outside checks identifications twice. Inside, the air hangs heavy with cigarette smoke and the weight of what is about to be decided. The map on the wall shows the Pacific stretched out like a battlefield waiting for checkmate. Midway sits there, a tiny dot circled in red. Operation MI. Admiral Yamamoto takes his place at the head of the table. Vice Admiral Ugaki stands to unroll the operational plan. Around them, carrier commanders, intelligence officers, logistics experts, and staff like Masato fill the chairs. Masato sits near the back, notebook open, his role to record without drawing attention. But his eyes track every face, every shift in tone. Ugaki lays it out cold and precise. "We threaten Midway to pull the American carriers out of Pearl Harbor. When they commit, our main striking force under Admiral Nagumo destroys them. Simultaneously, a diversion in the Aleutians splits their attention and forces. Battleships follow to mop up. Invasion troops land on Midway once the skies are clear. Clean execution ends their carrier threat for good." The room nods. On the surface, it sounds like the natural next step after 6 months of unbroken winds. But as the details unfold, Masato sees the cracks forming right in front of them. A carrier operations officer, Kusaka representing Nagumo, speaks first with a tight voice. 4 carriers to Midway, 2 to Aleutians. That splits our entire striking power across 2 oceans. Weather in the north will chew up planes and men. Range to Midway stretches fuel and scout patterns thin. Our air groups are already down experienced pilots from the Tempo. One storm, One mechanical failure cascade, and we bleed strength before the first shot. Ukaki cuts in sharp. The Aleutian move forces American choices that cannot cover both. Confusion buys us the edge, concentrate everything on Midway, and they pile everything against us too. This is deception, not diffusion. Kusaka pushes back, voice low but firm. Deception against an enemy still waking up. 6 months ago, yes. Now, their carriers hit and fade. They learn fast. And if they guess our code, we fly blind into their trap. The intelligence chief jumps in before Yamamoto can respond. No evidence of code compromise. New system is secure. Americans operate on reaction, not prediction. Reports confirm their carriers are South Pacific repairing. They expect consolidation, not this. Rear Admiral Tanaka, logistics hardliner, leans forward, face like stone. Assume they are blind. Still, the plan demands perfect timing. Carriers sprint ahead of battleships by days. Transports lag behind. Scouts must find enemies across 2,000 square miles of ocean. One scout, late by 30 minutes, one report garbled, and Nagumo strikes empty water while Americans close the gap. He taps the schedule sheet. This is not one battle. It is 5 fleets dancing on radio silence. Yamaguchi wanted all 6 carriers together. We rejected that for this. Yamamoto finally speaks, his voice cutting through like a blade. Every decisive battle carries risk. Tsushima worked because we forced the enemy to fight where we chose. Jutland failed for the same reason in reverse. We dictate terms here or we yield initiative forever. Their factories spin up every month we wait. The room quiets. No one argues with Tsushima, but Masato sees Kusaka's jaw clench. He sees Tanaka stare at the Aleutian arrows like they mock him. Then comes the moment that stops Masato's pen. A young operations lieutenant, ambitious, crisp uniform, stands to brief expected casualties. He flips to a projected losses table. Based on Coral Sea ratios, we anticipate 20 to 30% aircrew attrition in a full carrier clash. Acceptable for decisive results. If we lose 2 carriers worst case, the remainder still outmatch American production for 1 to 2 years. Captain Hayashi, sitting near Masato, mutters under his breath, 2 carriers. That is Akagi and Kaga, half our veterans gone. The lieutenant continues, oblivious. Pilot replacement pipeline covers base losses. Spirit and training maintain qualitative edge. Tanaka snaps. Spirit does not replace 3,000 flight hours in 6 months. Show me the names on that table. Lieutenant Iguchi from Akagi Air Group. He has 90 combat sorties since China. Lieutenant Commander Ito from Soryu, top dive bomber ace. They die in your percentages. The lieutenant flushes, but holds position. Honored dead pave the path, sir. The plan accounts. Yamamoto raises a hand. Silence drops. Enough. We all know the math. Show me a plan with 0 risk. I will call it fiction. This operation buys our future. Execute it right, and America sues for peace. Botch the timing, and we pay. But inaction costs more. He looks around the table, eyes locking each man, questions Kusaka, shakes his head. Tanaka stares at the map. The doubters fold. The plan locks in. Hours later in a side room, Masato corners Hayashi as papers get boxed for distribution. You heard Tanaka. They know the fracture points, code, scouts, split forces. They still sign it. Hayashi rubs his temples. Yamamoto sees the clock. He knows your report better than you wrote it. 1 year, maybe less, before American carriers flood the field. This is his Mahan moment or nothing. Dissent dies in these rooms. Execute or be sidelined. Masato glances at the final order sheet. Neat columns. Departure dates. Nagumo's carrier group leads by 200 miles. Battleships trail. Scouts launch at dawn on precise bearings from Pearl Harbor math. They assume the Americans come straight down the expected lane. They narrow the search arcs to save planes. They bet on surprise because 6 months of winning says they deserve it. Cut to a carrier hangar 2 days later. Lieutenant Iguchi, the ace Tanaka named, briefs his pilots, lean, scarred hands, eyes that have seen too many friends ditch. Men, this is it, the decisive strike. We end their carriers, we end the war. Emperor expects your best. The pilots cheer, young faces burning. They do not see the plan annex that lists their squadron as expendable reserve if scouts fail. They do not hear Kusaka's warning upstairs. Back in Tokyo, the order goes out. Operation MI is greenlit. Yamamoto stares at the map one last time. His finger traces from Japan across empty ocean to that red dot. He knows the gamble. He built it. Masato walks the ministry halls that night, empty now. He passes a radio room where an announcer boasts of unbroken victories, past a bulletin board with pilot hero photos, the kind handed to mothers at ceremonies. He stops at a window. Blackout Tokyo sleeps, believing the empire expands forever. Somewhere out there, 4 carriers steam toward a speck in the ocean, chasing a battle they think they control. In Pearl Harbor, an American cryptanalyst slides another decoded fragment across a desk. Operation MI. They do not know it yet, but the Americans are starting to see the hook too. Somewhere in the North Pacific, late May, 1942. Carrier Ryujo fights through 40-knot headwinds and thickening fog. Her sister ships, a cruiser and destroyer, struggle to keep station half a mile off each beam. This is the Aleutian diversion. Strike Dutch Harbor, make noise, split American attention, while Nagumo's 4 heavy carriers close on Midway from 1,000 miles south. On paper, it confuses the enemy. In reality, it scatters Japan's irreplaceable striking power across 2 fronts. Ryujo's hangar deck reeks of aviation gas, hot oil, and damp flight suits. Pilots sprawl on folding chairs or lean against plane tails, killing hours with cards, dice, or silence. Lieutenant Junior Grade Hiroshi Tanaka sits alone by his Zero, polishing a scratched prop hub with a rag that has seen better days. Age 24, 90 combat hours over China, 30 over Malaya. Coral Sea left him with a bullet through the tail and half his squadron gone. Mechanics call him Iron Tail. Tonight, his hands move on autopilot while his mind runs numbers no one tells the flyers. Ensign Sato, newest in the squadron, fresh from training with under 300 total hours, bounces over with a grin. Tanaka-san, you look like the sea just ate your best friend. What is wrong? Headwinds too strong for Iron Tail. Hiroshi does not look up. 210 nautical to target. 15-knot headwind. Launch at first light means bingo fuel on return if we hit headwinds both legs. 1 hour station time max, or we ditch. That is what is wrong. Sato laughs it off, clapping his shoulder. Numbers again. You always count the clouds before they rain. This is the feint. Nagumo gets the real fight. We slap Alaska and go home heroes. Hiroshi finally meets his eyes. Sato burns with that first fire, the certainty that Japanese skill trumps American steel. Hiroshi had it once, before he saw 5 friends spiral into the Coral Sea, before he nursed his riddled Zero home alone. Heroes until the Americans do not play the script, Hiroshi says flat. Coral Sea. They knew our angles. Came from nowhere. Sato shrugs. Lucky hit. Codes changed. Scouts wider this time. 4 big decks against their 3. We shred them. Hiroshi thinks of the hangar whispers. Engines pulled from wrecks to keep others flying. Pilots like Lieutenant Eguchi on Akagi, 200 sorties since China. Chief Petty Officer Nakamura on Soryu, dive-bombing ace with a punctured lung from last month. Veterans carrying rookies like Sato, no replacements fast enough. Up on the bridge, Captain Fujita scans boiling gray seas through salt-crusted binoculars. His air group commander stands silent beside him. Visibility 3 miles and dropping. "This is why we get Aleutians," Fujita growls. "Fog you cut with a knife. Target's worth nothing." Nagumo sails calm water to Midway. Air group commander nods, but it splits them. They cover north or south, not both. Nagumo picks them apart. Fujita lowers the glasses, face hard, splits us too. 6 carriers total, spread across creation. What if their carriers sit in Pearl? What if scouts miss? Then Midway falls clean. Troops land. Airfield ours. Fujita's voice drops to a hiss. Clean against what bombers from Hawaii? Carriers we never see. Staff narrowed our dawn search arcs to save planes. Betting Americans steam straight from Pearl Math. 1 degree off, and Nagumo faces empty ocean while they flank. Air Group Commander glances at the door. "Plan is plan, sir. We fly assigned sectors." Fujita spits over the rail. "Plan got good men at Coral Sea. Truth, this feint confuses them less than it screws us." Pray-toned scout sees true tomorrow. Below, Hiroshi walks the hangar line. His Zero looks solid, but he knows better. Fresh plugs, yes, but oil pressure twitchy last flight. Mechanic Nakamura, no relation to the ace, wipes scarred hands on a rag. "She will hold, Tanaka-san. Tested her cold this morning." Hiroshi taps the cowling. How many more like her in the fleet? How many not cannibalized from wrecks? Mechanics rag stops. He looks away. Enough. Fleet always has enough. Lie blatant as the fog outside. Hiroshi has seen the parts bins, half empty, labels peeling, overhauls skipped, sorties pushed to breaking, mess call, pilots crowd narrow tables, rice gone gummy, fish paste gray, talk splits bravado and ritual. One taps his cup 3 times. Luck charm. Another skips the end seat. Crash omen from last year. Lieutenant Eguchi arrives from the Midway force, coordinating patterns. Lean, scarred knuckles. 200 hours combat. 3 cruiser kills last month. Sato drags him to the table. "Eguchi-san, tell them how Midway ends it." Eguchi sits slow, eyes scanning faces. Dawn strike flattens their field. Draw carriers in, hit when committed, 4 to 3. Done. Young pilot pipes up. What if carriers already out? No warning, Eguchi level. Scouts find them. Dawn arcs from Pearl Harbor vectors. Overlap covers gaps. Hiroshi's turn. Overlap means thin sectors, longer legs, fuel to bones. What if Americans curve wide flank from northeast table quiets? Sato fidgets. Eguchi holds Hiroshi's gaze. Staff calculated, patterns tight, but enough. We take the risk because we win it. Hiroshi sees the annex in his head, the one pilots never see. Squadron listed expendable if scouts fail. Acceptable attrition, 20%. Calculated on paper, Hiroshi says. C eats paper. Eguchi nods once, heavy. No plan perfect. But delay, and American factories bury us. Fly tomorrow, find them first. Night deepens. Hiroshi pulls watch on the sponson salt spray, stinging eyes. Ryujo plows blind into black, no contacts, just engine thrum and empty water. He touches the photo in his pocket. Mother at festival, pre-war smile. Letters home lie about easy duty. Cannot write the math. Footsteps. Captain Fujita. Tanaka. Still on scout, sir. If Americans read the code. Fujita grips rail, voice barely audible. They do not. But Coral Sea said different. One scout late tomorrow, Nagumo blind. We fly blind up here. Pray, clear sky. Dawn cracks patchy. Ryujo swings into wind. First scout lifts heavy into damp. Hiroshi straps for cap. Zero groaning up through layers. He breaks clear above, scans endless blue. Below, task force thin against infinity. Radio spits. Tone scout to main force. Voice clipped. Transport sighted. Main body. No carriers. Position approximate. Hiroshi banks east. Empty. Always empty. Until full of tracers. Cut to Akagi, south. Nagumo on bridge. Staff tense over maps. Scout trickles. Clear so far. Americans on script. His fist clenches unseen. Yamamoto's clock ticks. Smash carriers now or never. Tokyo, Masato files traffic. Diversion north. Main force closing. No flags. He sees Hiroshi's kind. Aces unnamed in annexes as calculated loss. Hiroshi circles post. Gauge steady. Eyes burning shadows. Plan bets his life on perfect dawn reports. Last line from Tone Scout crackles. Wrong by 10 miles already. No one knows yet. Fog hides the fix. Sea hides the flank. June 4th, 1942. Dawn breaks over the empty Pacific, 200 miles northwest of Midway Atoll. 4 Japanese carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, slice through flat, calm seas in perfect formation. Nagumo's first air fleet, veterans of Pearl Harbor, masters of the Indian Ocean. Their decks gleam under rising sun flags. Pilots sleep fitful in ready rooms. Deck crews check lashings one last time. Everyone feels it. This is the day. On Akagi's bridge, Admiral Chuichi Nagumo stands rigid, binoculars to eyes. Age 57, face carved from years of command, 6 months of unbroken victory. Today, he finishes it. His chief of staff, Kusaka, murmurs updates from the plotting table. Scouts airborne at 0430. First returns expected 0600. Midway in range. Invasion force trailing 100 miles. All per plan. Nagumo nods once. No smile. He knows Yamamoto's full force lurks 200 miles astern. Yamato, battleships, cruisers. His job, clear the skies, sink carriers, pave the way. Simple. 0542. Radar contact. 108 planes bearing 320 miles. Midway's defenders airborne already scattering. Nagumo's first strike wave launches clean into pink sky. 36 zeros, 36 vals, 36 Kates. Lead by Lieutenant Commander Tomonaga from Hiryu. Contact in 20 minutes. Below decks, chaos controlled. Ordnance handlers wheel bombs to elevators. Pilots strap in. Lieutenant Eguchi, Akagi's ace, adjusts goggles. 200 sorties. Feels the aircraft shift under him. High explosive for runways. Clean work. Bridge talk. Sharpens. Kusaka flips to reserve force status. 93 planes held back. Torpedoes and AP bombs loaded. Anti-ship ready if carriers appear. Nagumo grunts approval. Standard caution. Midway first. Carriers if they show. 0628. Tomonaga's force hits Midway. Bombs crater runways. Fuel farm burns black smoke. Anti-aircraft shreds 3 vals. Defenders scatter, but sting. Tomonaga circles, assesses through binoculars. Runways damaged, but usable. Few planes caught on ground. Americans got most airborne in time. He keys the radio. Urgent. Second strike required. Runway repair underway. Recommend immediate follow-up. Nagumo hears the call on bridge speakers. Kusaka frowns. Midway tougher than expected. Their radar gave warning. Nagumo weighs it. 0715 decision point. Rearm reserves for land bombs or hold anti-ship. Launch second strike, he orders. Rearm reserves with contact bombs. Finish the airfield. Deck gangs swarm hangar level. Forklifts haul torpedoes off Kates. Crews wrestle 500-pounders into place. Fuel hoses snake between planes. Elevators cycle non-stop. Safety doors propped open for speed. Bombs roll past gas drums. Officers shout over clatter, risky but routine. They have done it before. 0728. Scout from Tone Cruiser breaks silence. Kusaka grabs headphones. 10 ships, cruisers, and destroyers. Bearing 010, 240 miles from Midway, course 150, 20 knots. Nagumo's eyes narrow. Surface action. No carriers identified. Still, threat. Suspend rearming, he snaps. Confirm ship types. Prepare anti-ship load. Chaos doubles. Half-torpedoed Kates sit stranded. Bombs pulled back. Ordnance carts jam passages. Planes from First Strike returned low on fuel, circle overhead, desperate. Land them first, Nagumo orders. Strike later. 0820. Tone Scout update chills the bridge. Enemy force includes what appears to be one carrier. Nagumo's fist slams the chart table. Carriers, plural unknown. His own planes mid-rearm. First wave circling bingo fuel. Flight deck fouled. Midway bombers trickle in. B-17s, Marines. Bombs splash wide. Zeros shred them. Carriers dodge in unison. No hits. But each attack forces turns, delays recovery. 0920, hell breaks loose low. American torpedo bombers, devastators, stagger in waves. Obsolete, faulty torpedoes, no fighter cover, slaughter. Zeros pounce from deck height, planes shred midair, flames cartwheel into sea. Torpedo Squadron 8, all 15 gone. Enterprise's VT-6, 10 of 14. Yorktown's VT-3, 10 of 12, 35 planes, 70 men. Japanese cheer from rails. But price paid. Zero's chase kills to wavetops, high cover empty. Nagumo's carriers twist through wakes, evading dewed torpedoes. Recovery stalls, returning strike circles critical low. Hangars now powder kegs. Fueled planes wingtip to wingtip. Bombs stacked loose. Torpedoes half removed. Gasoline vapors thick. One spark ends everything. 01022. High altitude drone. Dive bombers. American Dauntlesses from Enterprise. 33 strong. Led by McCluskey. Flew fuel dry searching. Spotted destroyer Arashi sprinting to rejoin. Smoke trail straight to Nagumo. No zeros above. All low chasing torpedo wrecks. McCluskey splits targets. Dive. Akagi first. Lieutenant Best rolls in. 1,000-pounder punches flight deck dead center, through to hangar, hits fueled half-armed reserve force, detonation chain, fuel ignites, bombs cook off. Akagi erupts, stem to stern, simultaneous. Kaga takes 4 bombs, hangar inferno, planes burst like firecrackers. Soryu 3 bombs from Yorktown, midships gutted, lists hard, 6 minutes, 3 carriers blaze, flagship gone. Nagumo staggers to cruiser Nagara. Kusaka, white face beside him. Hiryu alone. Last hope. Launches, counterstrike. From water, sole survivor Ensign Gay floats amid oil and wreckage. Watches Akagi's bow rise, then plunge. Japanese sailors leap burning decks into flaming sea. Invincible no more. On Nagara's bridge, Nagumo stares astern. Black pyres mark where his fleet stood. Yamamoto's battleships still trail, blind to disaster. Hiryu fights on alone. One decision. Rearm at dawn. 5 minutes vulnerability. 4 carriers lost. 248 planes. 3,570 men. Japan's carrier corps. Pearl Harbor veterans. China aces. Irreplaceable. Gone in chain of fire. Radio silence holds. Tokyo hears nothing yet. Masato files blank logs. Hiroshi Tanaka circles empty sky north. Scout error unnoticed. Plan perfect until C proved otherwise. Hiryu burns by dusk. Nagumo's force scatters. Yamamoto turns main body away. Midway untaken. Initiative lost. Empire's high tide breaks on coral sand. June 5, 1942. Dawn reveals black pyres on the horizon where Japan's carrier force stood 24 hours before. Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, gone. Hiryu joined them at dusk, gutted by Enterprise dive bombers. Nagumo's flag floats on cruiser Nagara, trailing north with destroyers and surviving cruisers. Yamamoto's main body, Yamato, battleships, heavy escorts, steams blind 300 miles astern, radio silence holding. No one knows the full scope yet. Survivors clog the sea in oil slicks and rafts. Tokyo hears fragments, censored before they reach print. On Nagara's bridge, Nagumo stands hollow-eyed, uniform salt-crusted. Kusaka hands him a damaged summary scrawled on soaked paper. 4 carriers, 248 aircraft, 3,057 men. Elite air groups, Pearl Harbor veterans, China aces, every dive bomber led with over 100 sorties, vaporized. Numbers that took a decade to build. Gone in 6 minutes of fire. We inflicted losses, Kusaka says, voice flat. Yorktown burning, their torpedo squadron shredded. Nagumo does not turn from the binnacle. Their factories replace pilots. We do not. A destroyer pulls alongside, survivors hauled aboard. Lieutenant Eguchi climbs net, face black with soot. Flight suit burned through at the shoulder. Akagi's top ace, 200 missions. He staggers to the bridge, salutes through exhaustion. Sir, first wave landed before the dive bombers hit. Most made it back. But the hangar, Nagumo cuts him off. I saw the smoke. How many aircrew left Eguchi swallows? 30%. Best men. Nakamura, Ito, the section leads. Fuel fires cooked off bombs. Chain reaction, no warning. Zeros were low, chasing their torpedo planes. Nagumo's fist closes on the rail. The torpedo bait worked too well. Pulled his fighters down, left the sky open. Yamamoto must know, Kusaka says. Main body exposed. Nagumo shakes his head. Radio silence holds until clear. He turns north. We regroup. 200 miles north, Hiroshi Tanaka lands his Zero on Ryujo's deck. Aleutian patrol complete. Fog hid nothing. No American carriers, just empty patrols and a Dutch harbor raid that hit parked P-40s. He taxis to the line, cuts engine. Sato waits below, grinning. Clean sweep, Tanaka-san. Headlines tomorrow. Nagumo finished them south. Hiroshi climbs down, helmet under arm. Feels the lie before he hears it. Radio traffic south went dead 12 hours ago. No victory calls. Sato blinks. Mechanical or jamming. They won. Plan worked. Captain Fujita approaches, face drained, no grin. Scouts confirm smoke plume south. Multiple sources. Main force not responding standard frequencies. Hiroshi's stomach drops. Eguchi's face flashes. Mess hall talk about tight search arcs. Pearl math. The veteran who questioned overlap. They missed them, Hiroshi says. Americans flanked. Fujita nods grim. Aleutians pulled nothing. Split our carriers for nothing. Nagumo blind. Sato goes pale. First crack in the fire. In Tokyo, Masato Kondo's office fills with uncoded fragments. Ryujo patrol clear. Tone scout vague. 10 ships. Then carrier hint. Then silence. Invasion transports report B-17s overhead, but no landings. No carrier strike confirmations. He cross-references his own report from months back. One major disaster. Irreplaceable corps lost. Check. Captain Hayashi bursts in, door slamming, main force pulling back. Preliminary, heavy carrier losses, numbers pending. Masato does not flinch, knew the curve. Akagi Kusaka Nagumo's staff. Pilots like Eguchi Hayashi nods tight. Worst case confirmed. Yamamoto orders withdrawal. Midway abandoned. Masato pulls the graph from his drawer. Japanese pilot replacement line flat. American line climbing. One stroke erased the gap. They bet everything on Dawn scouts and rearming speed, lost both. Hayashi stares at the door. Censorship starts now. Navy Ministry Line, limited engagement, valuable experience gained. No carrier mention. Public hears victory. Masato thinks of the gym ceremony. Mothers with photos. More coming. Hundreds. Survivors reach Japan weeks later. Quarantined on arrival. Letters burned. No shore leave. No family contact. Official story. Heroic action against superior numbers. Strategic repositioning. In a sealed ward, Hiroshi Tanaka stares at Ryujo's bulkhead. Official telegram came by courier. Mother believes he struck mighty blows. Truth. Flew circles in fog while brothers burned. Eguchi's squadron, gone. Nakamura, gone. His own zero, one of 30 left fleet-wide. He burns the real logbook that night. Numbers too honest for the lie. Nagumo faces Yamamoto aboard Yamato. Formal inquiry. Maps rolled tight. Yamamoto's face stone. Your decision to rearm created vulnerability. Scouts vague. Fighters low. Nagumo bows low. My error. Combined fleet commander accepted. Yamamoto waves it off. Plan mine. Overcomplex. Split forces. Assume their reaction. Staff failed margins. Behind closed doors, Ugaki drafts the sanitized report. Losses, light, enemy, heavy, lessons, valuable, no numbers, no names. Forward to Navy General Staff with seal, for internal eyes only. Newspaper next day, Imperial Navy repulses American aggression near strategic outpost. Casualties minimal. Enemy carrier damaged. Empire secure. Radio announcer reads it smooth. Children wave flags at school. Mothers hang new photos beside old ones. Masato walks ministry halls. Blank expression locked. Passes bulletin board. Eguchi's face stares back. Promoted posthumous. Hiroshi Tanaka's type, last veterans, now carry ghosts along with planes. Yamamoto locks his cabin door. Stares at Pacific chart. Midway dot unmarked now. His pre-war words echo silent. 6 months wild run, then no confidence. Exact. He knows factories grind on. American carriers multiply. Japan's line bends down. One day bought nothing. Clock faster now. Survivors whisper in quarantine bunks. Truth spreads pilot to pilot, deck to deck. No one speaks aloud. Honor demands silence. But eyes meet across mess tables. They know. Off midway, oil slicks fade. Bodies sink. Metal rusts. Initiative shifts. Empire's sea power heart, built 20 years, dies in 6 minutes fire. No recovery, no replacements. Only long retreat ahead. Masato files final log. Blank page. Truth buried deeper than wrecks. Nation cheers ghost victory. War turns inevitable.